to order. And let me call the roll here. Commissioner Dave Cahill.
Here.
Dave, for some reason, you're identified on the Zoom as Lisa Davison.
Oh, that's really not right, is it?
No. Did I do that again? Okay.
Not sure how that happened.
Let me rename myself.
Okay, thank you.
I can't imagine how that happened either.
Barbara McKenzie.
I'm here. Thank you.
Great to see you. And Commission Chair Deborah Doyle.
Here.
All right. Well, let's go ahead. So item 2, announcements. Pursuant to California Government Code Section 54953, all votes during this teleconference meeting shall be taken by roll call. Public appearances. Lisa, do we have anybody who's here or who submitted anything in advance of the meeting that we would consider a public appearance?
I do not see any members from the public in attendance, and no comment letters were submitted.
Okay, thank you. Well, let's move right into the agenda. And the first item is the mid-year review report. Myrna, I wanted to, I'm going to turn things over to you, but before I do, I wanted to thank you for the very clear narrative that you provided, which I thought was exceptional, and for preparing PowerPoint. Are you going to walk through the PowerPoint now? Okay. I will stop talking and let you go ahead. Thank you so much.
Excellent. So I'll be sharing my PowerPoint. What do you see?
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet. Okay, so I need to share.
Meanwhile, Dave, you will be happy to know that you have been renamed David Cahill. Okay, and now we're seeing it, but we're also seeing the next slides. There we go. Okay.
Exactly. Okay, perfect. All right, thank you. Well, I am happy to present the mid-year financial report for fiscal year 22-23 as of December 31st, 2022. I always like to start with our strategic priorities. The strategic plan sets priorities for the budget, and as such, the library's budget aligns with the vision and the goals of the reimagining plan. These are 3 of several areas that resonate with me to provide that the library provides opportunities for all to learn, contribute, interact, and participate, support resiliency, and foster racial equity, social justice, and inclusion for everyone. The 3 priority concepts give the library purpose and a pathway to building a strong community. A mid-year review has 3 components: to visit the financial status of the library and to make any adjustments as needed. The year-end projections of how we will end the year according to revenues and expenditures for June 30th, 2023. A financial health check, which includes the question, are we on track with revenues and expenditures, cash balance and fund balance? And a look ahead on how we stay on track with financial health and continue to advance the reimagining plan. The good news is that the library continues to have a strong financial position. The strong financial position is supported by the following. The Sonoma County Library received a clean audit for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022, and showed an improved financial position from the prior year. Revenues were greater than budgeted and assets increased. The Finance Committee and the Commission continue to see financial reports, monthly financial reports. And the remaining reports for this fiscal year should remain consistent and provide information as expected. For example, the holiday sales receipts that will be posted in February and our April property tax receipts that we're anticipating. The strong financial position is also a result of the following. We experience a steady increase in revenue receipts from prior years. We have financial discipline we have controls and policies in place, and we have ongoing review of our policies. We have strong cash and fund balances and a fully funded stabilization fund. This is a summary of revenues since the first full year of sales tax receipts. Revenues are consistent and steady with steady increases. There is a little change here in fiscal year 1920, and that was when, if you can recall, when the pandemic was declared. But when we look at fiscal year 22 and 21 is a significant increase, and is due to, it's about an 8% increase. And overall, over the last 5 years, we've had an increase in revenue, total revenue of $8.4 million when we're talking about property tax and sales tax. We have to continue to keep in mind external factors that we're hearing about in the news a lot, or we're experiencing very clearly and close to home. On the economic side, we have to continue to monitor local, state, and national economic conditions. Wildfires, floods, and other natural disasters, and more recently, we haven't said that we're quite out of the pandemic. The library is on track within its budget for 2023. And just as a reminder here, it says fiscal year 2023 adjusted budget. It is adjusted because in October, the commission approved a rebudget. And so this reflects the rebudget. And within that, it included a use of fund balance of $9.7 million. In the mid-year, I am proposing adjustments to this fiscal year as follows. Under property tax, I'm recommending adjustments to the revenue. Under property tax, I received the certified values of property tax from the tax collector, and our certified values for this fiscal year are projected to be greater than the approved budget by $1.2 million, plus an increase in donations and grants for a total increase to our general fund, our property tax and general fund of $1.4 million. To continue the discussion on mid-year adjustments, I also recommend mid-year adjustments under expenditures, under salaries and benefits, and I'll go into a little more detail after I finish the discussion of revenues. So under property tax, I've already stated we expect an increase in property tax. Sales tax, I expect to meet the same expectation as the approved budget of $15.5 million. Sales tax receipts have been coming in as in the same historical pattern, and there's no reason to make any adjustments at this time. So I recommend to keep that the same. So total revenue would be for $41 million. Under expenditures, I do have the recommendation to increase salary and benefits to reflect two adjustments. One is the addition of one new FTE of an administrative specialist to support the fund development office. And the second adjustment is a reclassification in HR, reclassifying an existing training and development specialist, reclassing to a higher classification of a senior human resources specialist. The cost of that is $18,000, and I'm recommending to offset that increase in salary and benefits by reducing services and supplies in HR that has savings in there to accommodate for that. So that is the extent of adjustments in expenditures. The other thing that I would like to note, I'm not going to make any changes or recommend any changes, but I would like the Finance Committee to know that given the rate of expenditure under services and supplies of about, under 40%, and historically, we've seen even in the last audit that we've seen significant savings in services and supplies. So I'm estimating that there will be $500,000 savings at the end of the year. It's an estimate. The funding is still available for managers to spend according to plan, but I feel confident that there will be a savings there. I have met with all of the managers and they will be within their budget. Under capital expenses, the commission approved $7.1 million, and the two major projects are the Petaluma refresh and the Healdsburg refresh. And as you know, they've been the commission has been updated on that. And so those delays are requiring for projects to roll over funds. And it is a large amount. But in looking at the projects for the remainder of the year, we expect a total of $1.3 million spent in capital expenses. The other thing to note here is, as you can see, the use of fund balance when the commission authorized $9.7 million use of the fund balance. And with these adjustments plus my notes, the use of fund balance reduces to $2 million. That on one hand, it's good. When the commission adopted the budget, there was deficit spending on the property tax side. With this certified values received from the tax collector and an improvement in revenues, it improves the deficit spending. So that's another note of good news. So if you have any questions on this, I'll take any since we're here, or I could just continue. Okay, I don't see any hands. I'll continue. So I wanted to check on the financial health and cash balances. This reflects the current fiscal year, the 6 months. And as you can see, again, it's just, you've seen this chart before. And just as a reminder of our cycle. So we draw down, this is property tax, and we draw down on property tax, and our low point in our cash balance and under property tax is November. And then in December, we receive our first property tax receipt, and we get replenishment in tax under property taxes. The red line is our Measure Y sales tax, and that is consistent because we do receive receipts every month, although there is a 2-month lag. So this is really the 4 months that we receive Measure Y, and it's also following our historical cycle. And the green line is our total. So the total cash balance. As of December 31st, 2022, our cash balance was $40.5 million. Under the uncommitted fund balance, this is a 5-year snapshot. And again, the blue is our property tax. And this is over 5 years. The first full year that we received Measure Y sales tax is where we start here. And of course, that is our lowest point of fund balance. And it continued to increase and then peak in during the pandemic years. Why? Because we scaled back expenditures. We open, and so we stopped a lot of construction. So we scaled back on expenditures, and our revenues remained strong. They did come down a little bit one year, but overall they were pretty steady. And therefore there was a spike in our fund balance. But since then, in the last 2 years, we are building back our services and utilizing fund balance. So we see a dip. And in sales tax, we have seen an increase. And then we've seen a decrease here again, building back our services. Not only that, we fully utilized our fund balance policy and committed funds for capital projects and maintenance under facilities and IT. So this fiscal year 21-22 reflects those commitments. And so in total, we see this green. Again, we see the pandemic, and then the building back of our services, and our fund balance is we're working towards fully utilizing our resources and our revenues. These are the dollar figures that are associated with the chart, and I just wanted to provide this with you so you can see the fiscal year 18 through 22 are actuals, and fiscal year 22-23 is estimated, and it's based on the approved budget. It does not reflect any adjustments that I'm making recommendations for. If the commission were to adopt my recommendations at the February meeting, then the estimated fund balance will change accordingly. So I just want to make note of that. So to recap, we are on track with our projections for ending the year 2023 with our revenues and expenditures. And we're on track with healthy cash and fund balances. Looking ahead, and we're looking a little bit back and a little ahead. Looking a little bit back, we've had several accomplishments under budget and finance. We've established an annual mid-year review. We've had a clean audit financial statements, hired our Julie Brown, our new accounting manager, and she was instrumental in automating our procurement process. She will go into a little more detail later in our meeting. The priorities for me still continue to be completing the 5-year forecasts, ongoing review of internal controls, updating policies and procedures such as cash handling, travel policies, and of course, something that we're anticipating very much is a improved reporting mechanism with our friends groups. Ongoing training for finance staff, and all of these priorities are to continue to keep us on a solid foundation for developing next year's budget and to support the reimagining plan and the commission's vision. So that concludes my presentation.
Well, that was terrific, Myrna. Thank you very much. I'm going to turn to the committee. Questions, comments? Barbara.
Well, along with Andy, and I'm sure all of us, it's just so impressive to see this, Myrna. You just pull everything together and just give us just such a great overview. It's just, if you haven't been around for a number of years and seen what we used to work with, it's just, wonderful to see this, so much progress. I don't seem to find I'm wondering if you could go back to the very first chart that you showed us. Let's see.
Revenues?
Yeah, I think it was right before there. The one that shows, there we go. I think that's the one that shows, yeah, that's the one. So you can see on the top line there under sales tax that we're at 35% of actuals. And I know that that's because of the timing thing of the first 2 months. So I just want to ask this question, if I can make it clear. When the sales tax measure was passed in November of 16, we started getting the money in April of 17. My recollection is that the first chunk came in July, I think, and that was April's money that came in July. And then later on, under when Randy was working with us on these reports, he started making this differential and kind of accounting for that gap. And then there were a couple of months on these reports would show just a line, it wasn't full. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, have we changed anything in terms of how we post the sales tax collections recently or not? Because obviously this looks like we're under collecting when you look at half a year and we only have 35% of our sales tax revenue, and our sales tax revenue remains strong. And when you would expect that to be, at least 50%. So could you just explain to everybody what
Sure.
the posting is and what you've changed?
Every organization has a cycle for revenue when revenues come in, right? Like we all know that retail gets a big chunk, a big percentage of their sales and their revenues during the holiday season, right? And they've even started even before Black Friday, right? So we hear that on the news all the time. So they have a revenue cycle that peaks for the holidays. Our revenue, we have a revenue cycle, and like I showed in the chart, is that for property tax, we know that we have two peaks, right? We for those that pay property taxes, we pay in December and we pay in April, and we pay the county, and then the county distributes them. And that's when we get our funds, same time. We get it posted in December and in April. That's our cycle in property tax, much more simple. In sales tax, the sales tax is collected with the Board of Equalization. That's a state board of equalization. And their process is to audit and review, and they have to collect all the sales tax and then distribute it across the state and to all the different jurisdictions, right? Counties, special districts, you name it. And so it takes them about 2 months to prepare the distribution. And so therefore, the July month, we don't get it until September. So really what you see here of $5.4 million is 4 months. You see what was posted in, we get July, August, September, and October. November we'll see posted in January, and December we'll see posted in February. So this is really, yes, we're at mid-year, but in terms of our cycle, we're only 4 months in collecting our sales tax.
Right, but by that token, then what would be our big month?
Big month? Oh yeah, there's big months. We see a peak here in the fall, around September, October. And we also see a spike in our holiday. our holidays. So February, we normally see a spike as well, just a little bit, not a lot, but normally, let's see, this month we got about I didn't say. Anyway, we got 1.2 million in sales tax in December, which was really October, right? So and that's average. If you notice, we've been getting 2 million in September, 1.4 million in October, 1.4 million in November, and then a little bit of a decrease. Our peak seasons are September, August and September.
Yeah, thank you for that. What I'm really asking is, when do our reports reflect that?
Oh, so in February, we will have posted 6 months through December. So
But in February, that's 8 months.
we're 8 months into the year, but we will have received sales tax receipts through December. So
Right.
again, all the sales tax receipts that in July, all the sales tax receipts in July go to the Board of Equalization. And because of all the work that they have to do, it takes them 2 months before they distribute it to us.
Right.
That's why we have the 2-month lag, is that the Board of Equalization, we don't collect the sales tax. It is the Board of Equalization, and they need 2 months to process all the collections and then make that distribution.
Right. But at some point, we need to be at 100%.
And
I guess is my question.
so
and
what
stuff.
ends up happening, because we're always 2 months behind, when
Right.
it comes year end, we do a anticipated revenue entry. And
Okay.
so in June, we say, oh, we still need 2 months of sales tax that for the month of May and the month of June. The library doesn't get them until July and August. So it's an accounting entry that we say, I anticipate 2 months of tax receipts, and I believe, let's say, it's an estimate that we make. I'll double the month of April, and we expect that we'll get the same amount in May, same amount for June.
Okay. Yeah,
That's how we round out we close the year. After the year is closed, if there are any discrepancies from the estimate in the accounting transaction and the actuals, we make audit adjustments, and those are captured in our audit.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I know we've been over this, numerous times, and it is a little bit confusing, but the short answer to my hopefully shorter question is that we haven't changed any in the way that we account for sales.
Not changed
Okay,
anything.
great. Thank you.
No, we haven't changed anything. We're always going to be 2 months behind on the sales tax. And so even though we're at 6 months, we're only at 33% of the year. We're at 35% of our projected revenue. We're tracking very closely. Thank you, Myrna. Dave.
Well, following up on Barbara's point, Myrna, you just said we get that 15,500,000 represents 4 payments. It seems to me, it's perfectly understandable that there's a delay, but last year's May and June, should we receive those payments in this fiscal year? You talked about anticipated revenues. Where do they show up in the revenue picture here? Shouldn't they be on this?
No,
They go back
Why
to
not?
last year, Dave.
because what ends up happening at the June, we say, we know that we're expecting the May and the June receipts.
Right.
They don't come in until July and August. So there's an account, it is a required accounting transaction to say, I'm the library, I'm expecting my May and April sales tax receipts. So I could book it. I could book it now, but it's a special booking entry. And then when I receive it, there's this accounts receivable revenue that then I reduce it. It's a very technical thing, but it is something that it is very important to organizations like the library, because we need to book that revenue for the year that it's supposed to be booked under. So that revenue, when you see the audit, when you saw the audit for June 30th, 2022, it is reflected in there.
Okay, it's just that it seems to be misleading on this statement to show revenues substantially less than the actual that we received during this fiscal year. I understand about payables and receivables. It just doesn't show up on this. So it makes us look not quite as, we're better off than we say we are.
We're always going to be 2 months behind on our
Right.
sales tax.
No, it's the
So
anticipated
what
revenue.
this shows is that a budget is always a plan. It's an
Sure.
estimated plan because it's not actuals. We don't know the future with 100% certainty. So a budget is always that. And that's why you always have a quarterly check-in and a monthly check-in to see how well we're doing against our plan. And the plan is to receive $15.5 million. And that's what this check-in is for, to see where are we according to plan. And we are according to plan. Right now we're at 35% of the year. And if I could assume that we'll get another $3 to $4 million in the next 2 months, we'll be right. We'll be meeting our targeted sales tax.
Have we answered this question? I'm surprised that this has come up because it's something that we have looked at every single month. I think going forward, Mira, I'm saying this is a note to you and me. When we talk about the percentage of the year, let's be clear that for property tax, the percentage of the year is going to be based on how many months have elapsed. So in this case, 6 months out of 12, 50%. For most of our expenses, that will be true. But for sales tax, we always have to look at how many months have we actually collected. We're only showing 4 months of sales tax revenue here, 1/3 of the year, or 33%. We're at 35%. We're very, very close to the budget. And although there are, as Myrna was saying, some fluctuations month to month, basically we're looking at a straight line basis. That $15.5 million estimate comes out to about 1.29 million per month. That's an average month of sales tax revenue. Were there other questions about what Myrna has shared? Okay, I'm going to stay on this slide for 1 second, Myrna, because I want to make a point, and then I'm going to ask you a question about something else. What I believe I'm hearing you say is that if we look at the column that is not the far right, but the one next to it, the estimated year end, some of those variations you're going to propose as budget adjustments and some are not. So for example, you are expecting that we're going to be getting more property tax revenue than we had budgeted, and you're going to propose that as an adjustment to the budget. Similarly, you're expecting a little more in interest and other income, and you're going to propose that as an adjustment to the budget. Because we now have Sunday hours, you're expecting that our salaries and benefits are going to increase and go a little bit above the budget, and you are proposing that as a change. However, with regard to capital expenses, even though you're not expecting that we're going to spend nearly as much as we had budgeted, for the moment, you're not proposing that as a mid-year budget adjustment. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay. I don't have a problem with that. I just want to be sure everybody's clear on it. And with regard to the, and I'm looking at page 5 in the packet, the staffing adjustments, the library is going to be requesting the addition of an administrative specialist to support fund development and a reclassification of the training and development specialist to a senior human resources analyst. You're not asking us to vote on this today. This will come to the full commission on February 1st or the following month?
On February 1st.
Okay. The addition of an administrative specialist to support fund development seems to me to be self-evident. Do we have questions from anybody on the committee about that for Myrna or Erica? Barbara?
Just a quick question. What does that bring our staff to in that department? Is that a director and 2 administrative assistants? Or,
So currently Craig has a half-time extra help. So it's basically 1 person and an extra help. And so we are asking for another FTE. So that will bring the department to 2.0 FTE.
Is it your anticipation, Erica, that when we bring this person on and they're fully up to speed, that we would rely to a lesser extent on the extra help?
No, so the extra help position will go away.
Oh, it will. That's what I was asking. Yes. Okay. So we've been using an extra help person significantly. We're recognizing that and saying we want to hire somebody on a full-time basis.
Yes, that's correct.
Barbara, does that address your question?
yeah, thank you.
Okay. And then the second point, the reclassification of the training and development specialist to a senior human resource analyst. You indicated that you expect to resolve the challenges experienced in recruiting a training and development specialist, as well as to better meet the scope of work. Would the senior human resources analyst fulfill the responsibilities that you were trying to meet with the training and development specialist?
Yes, as well as additional duties. So some of the training duties have been given over to the IT department.
Right.
Because they are going to be responsible for services training as well as IT training. But then this new position or this reclassified position will take on some of that work as well as additional duties that would be to help this HR manager. So conducting investigations and labor relations. So this person, this new position, would essentially could be in charge of HR in the absence of the HR manager.
Okay. I have, I guess, just a request and possible suggestion here. I think when you bring this to the commission, it would be helpful if you could just briefly outline what their duties or areas of responsibility would be, so that we can generate enough support for the position. Any other questions on Myrna's report? Barbara?
Yeah, just a couple of quick things. On page 8, I believe, of the packet, the mid-year adjustments, it just, yeah, under, is that page 8? Donations and miscellaneous. So a really large jump there between 35,000 and 215,000. What's in that? Does that have grants and stuff in there, or how did we make that big leap?
Yeah, there's a couple of small grants and donations. The actuals to date were over 90,000. So I figured if we're in the middle of the year, donations, that pattern, so I've increased it.
Those are cash donations that we're expecting from somebody besides the Friends of the Library, for example.
Yes, this is not Friends.
And it has nothing to do with the money, obviously, for the foundation. And so this is just, we expect more donations.
Yes,
Or it's already saying, okay.
if
So
we're
basically-
fortunate enough.
You're basically saying we're already past 90,000 mid-year. You're just straight lining that out to 180, right, Myrna?
That's correct.
Okay,
And not grants, does not have grants in there.
A couple of small grants, some,
Okay,
very small
Okay.
grants from IT. There were IT unexpected grants.
all righty. And my last two small questions, I might as well just finish up if you don't mind. On page 14, the looking ahead summary. A very cute graphic on there. The automated procurement process, which you alluded to, and I had question mark, and I think you said somebody's going to talk more about that, our county manager, that'd be great. And then the priorities in terms of the 5-year forecast, I wondered if you could give us a little bit of an update about where you are with that. And then lastly, the Friends reporting process. I think that's the report that you're talking about that we've talked about many times. It's kind of unclear when Friends make the donations. Is anything else involved in that, or is that a Friends report only?
It's Julie is on the agenda today to give an update on policies and procedures. And she will
Okay.
be speaking to the Friends and the procurement process. I
Okay.
believe it's also on the agenda to give an update on upcoming items such as the 5-year forecast.
Okay,
So I could speak to it at that time.
super duper. Thank you.
great. Thank you, Barbara. And any other questions on the report? Before we move on to the next agenda item, the packet did include the 6-month financial statements, and you should have all been able to get those from your local branch. Were there any questions or anything you wanted additional information about on the financial reports, which are essentially the detailed view of the summary that Myrna just provided? Okay, seeing none. Myrna, thank you and your team for putting together this excellent mid-year summary, and I agree with your conclusions. We're really in strong shape, and very grateful to you for the additional leadership and control that you've brought to the finance process. So let's move on to the second agenda item, which is update and review of policies and procedures. And I think, Julie, are you going to be talking to us about this?
Yes, that will be me.
Okay, well, I don't know if I think your head was turned from the screen when Myrna was talking about the fact that one of the accomplishments was that we had hired a new accounting manager. You missed us applauding.
Oh, no, I saw you guys. Sorry.
Okay,
Too many screens. I looked away for a second, but
I
thank
just
you.
wanted to
Very
be sure
happy to be here.
that you saw that, so you know how grateful we are to have you on board.
Oh, thank you.
So please take it away.
Wonderful. Everybody sees the policies and procedures, right?
Yes, we are. So thank you.
Awesome. So I'll keep it short and sweet. So we put a lot of work into updating our purchasing procedures. We've built new dashboards, put out guidance, And we are rolling out a new way to do purchase requests, track Amazon spending, track Staples spending, so that there's a lot more clarity around how to adhere to our procedures or how to adhere to our policies that currently exist with this new procedural guidance. Adds a lot of clarity for the staff and makes our job in accounting a lot easier too. I'm making a lot of updates to the patron reimbursement process. They're just standardization of timelines, expectations, and overall that whole process. I've implemented a lot of tracking around grants and the ways that we are recording them within our general ledger so that there is more transparency. The friends groups we're working on their reconciliations right now of the work, and we're discussing that with public services and managers. Overall in the department, we've just been adding efficiencies everywhere we can, moving anything we can to paperless, and really starting to get some traction there. We're focused on cash handling right now and getting that up off the ground, reconciling with the petty cash procedures, branch management cash procedures, and those kind of things. We're hoping to start implementing some better forms for employee reimbursement and developing a travel policy, as well as some food and beverage policy for purchasing of like refreshments for the programming. And that's my short and sweet. Do you have any questions?
Well, thanks. Barbara, I see your hand up. Please go ahead.
Oh, just a quick question. I'm wondering about what would be the circumstances we'd be reimbursing a patron? Is that if they paid for a book they lost and then they found it or something?
Yeah, which actually happens quite a lot. I didn't know that beforehand, but we get at least a few a month, and there just hadn't been a lot of standardization around how these employees would get reimbursed, what was the format and that type of thing. So we've moved to doing monthly reimbursements, and we're exploring ways of maybe issuing the checks a little differently and just making sure that we're accountable on our end, that making sure that these patrons are reimbursed as quickly as possible.
We just found that at times there were a little bit of delays in processing the final reimbursement. So we want to make sure that patrons get their funds as soon as possible, and we're tracking all of the steps in between properly.
Yeah.
Thank
Deborah, I
you.
think you had your hand up next.
I do. This is about the friends. Have you talked to some of the friends as you're looking at the policy and procedure updates? We a couple of years ago tried to adjust something and didn't talk to the friends beforehand, and it caused a little bit of a stir. So just so that you know, it's important to warn them.
Yes, that is definitely our next step after we finish our internal
Super.
portion of this, is to go talk to them. I know Miriam and I had talked about implementing attending quarterly meetings so that we could be there to present what's going on financially with their spending and making our presence there like more of a regular thing for them.
Super, thanks very much. And then another question, you don't really need a whole lot of spending and travel policies for the commission, but we do have a simple form that is an expense form. I assume that's not changing, or if it is changing, do let us know.
Oh, definitely. At this point, not now, but if that does change, we will definitely let you know.
Thanks.
And get your input before we change it.
Good plan.
Thank you. Erica?
Yeah, I was just going to respond to Barbara's question about the patron reimbursement. One of the issues that Sonoma County doesn't place any kind of restrictions on how long a book can be lost and be reimbursed. So if a patron finds it a year later, we don't have any kind of policy on a refund. So, from a library perspective, you want to have 30-day or 60-day or something like that. If you find the book within this time frame, we will refund you, but after a certain time frame, we will not, because obviously our items are, we buy things and they're relevant when they're current, but when they're no longer current, so those are some things that we'll be looking at with this patron reimbursement policy. Go ahead, Barbara.
Could I just follow up on that? You just reminded me of something. I think we have not had a report in quite a while about the the fact we don't charge fees and fines except for the $25 lost book. I think what it is in a long time. And would there be a way to maybe get a informative report about what we would have collected, but we didn't because we don't have that policy anymore. Maybe it isn't important. It's just kind of I always like to point out to the public, that we have this kind of amazing thing. We don't charge fines anymore, but that number was probably pretty old.
We'll
We
have
can
to think.
definitely look back at historical figures.
Mhm.
I'll have to look at how that was getting recorded previously, but yeah, that seems reasonably like something we could look into.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Not a big deal. Just be nice to have an update on that.
Well, I think that is all from me, unless you guys have any other questions or.
Julie, I had one other question. I'm just looking to see if there's anything from Barbara or Dave or Deborah. Okay, my question was the first item that you had up there was purchasing procedures. Would I be right in thinking that you're not revising the purchasing policy, but rather you're revising the process that library staff will go through to implement that policy?
Yeah, right now it's how can we get our staff to fully understand and feel like they are empowered to buy what they need to buy for the library. So it's how can we adhere with the policy we have. I think that our policy at some point should get updated, but right now we have a policy, it's effective. Let's work with what we have and let's teach people how to buy before we start, giving them crazy different limits or anything.
That's great. I figured that was the case. Just wanted to be sure. Thank you. And thanks. I appreciate you, condensing all this onto one slide, but also recognize that there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes to make this happen. Barbara?
Thank you.
Yeah, just one quick thing. If that's the extent of your report, which was great, are we going to talk about the automated procurement process? Just to let us know a little bit about what that means.
Yeah, so I've gone through this company called Smartsheets, and what I've done is I've built us an automated form that people can come in, and what they do is they basically submit the request. It gives all of the supplier information, and it gives us all of the funding information. It builds in the delegation of authority, who needs to sign for what, over what dollar amount, where's the funding source coming from. And it'll just auto route for all of these approvals going from if the manager approves, delegation of authority approves, then accounting can come through review and then we approve and the form is generated and sent out. In a different committee meeting, I can definitely give you a walkthrough of the form and how it works. But basically what I'm building is a dashboard that has different ways for us to track and communicate what's going on with purchasing for purchase orders for, say, Amazon spending or Staples spending, or like all the different ways we spend money. Basically, it's so that not only are we able to have a clear way of them communicating what they need, it's also so that on the back end, they can come back and see where stuff is in the process, if it's hung up with automated approvals, if it's hung up somewhere in accounting. And it gives us a way to get ahead of a lot of these issues that get drug out.
That sounds fantastic. Thank you, Julie.
Thanks.
Myrna, I see you have a hand up. Are you going to add something?
Yeah, so yes, this is you already know this, the updates and reviews of policies and procedures has been a long time goal for the finance committee and definitely for the library and myself. And Julie has been very instrumental in making sure that we make significant and important progress in each of these areas. It is the way we review and update our policies and procedures is very fundamentally, it's fundamental to the library, a very collaborative process, an iterative process where we are working with our subject matter experts, the division managers, branch managers, And, we'll be working with even our outside partners such as, the Friends group. So that is very important to me and very important to our team to make sure that it is collaborative, because everyone, it's important for us, especially since we're newer to the library, that we get some historical information. What is it they need in order to make these policies and procedures work for them? And my experience in policies and procedures and implementing we need a communication plan, and it starts from the beginning. So everyone has a buy-in and everybody understands why they're important and why we have them.
Well, really glad to hear that. I think, judging from Deborah's question, this is certainly something that we would support. Deborah, you going to want to add or ask something?
Well, I think this is a terrific taste of something that I think would be terrific to go into when we do the annual budget process with the commission. I mean, I think that if you could walk us through the things that you've changed, I think not just people on the finance committee, but the rest of the commissioners would benefit greatly from this. And you might have it, it might be ready for prime time by the time we get to that budget conversation. But this is really terrific work. Thank you, Myrna, and welcome aboard, Julie.
Yeah, and we look forward to hearing from you again at future meetings with more updates. Thanks for what you're doing. Okay, we're going to move on to agenda item 4.3, which is a calendar. Barbara, you were asking about dates, and so we asked Myrna to please remind us of what's coming up.
Okay, so for this month in January, I believe we were able to check our list with the mid-year review and the update on the policies and procedures. Thank you, Lisa. If you could flash that calendar up, that'd be great. For next month, we have a couple more complex matters as well. I'll start with the 5-year plan. We have been making progress on the 5-year forecast. It is a complex process, and so in February we do plan to give you an update on where we are with the forecast and when we can complete it. I do not think we'll have it completed by February, but we want to make some real progress to show you in February. The Pension 101 review, I do have some information, and we'll continue to prepare for that. And Andy, I'd like, as the chair, I would like to meet with you to see, if we're going in the right, we're on track with what the finance committee would need.
Sure, we'll take that offline, and I'll connect to arrange time we can get together.
Okay, and we're still on target. We kicked off the budget instructions. I sent those out last week, and we have a lot of check-ins with our division managers. So we've started our budget planning process already. And so we're on target for the next few months.
Well, that's great. I know you've laid out a very ambitious agenda here, Myrna, and appreciate the work you and your team are doing. Barbara, did that address the question you had, or do you have any follow-up questions you want to ask about the calendar?
Well, we haven't probably talked about June yet, but Juneteenth is the day that we would have met, and
That's our next agenda item.
Okay. Well, I didn't know if we were on 4.3 or okay. So along this line, on this topic, my only question would be, at our next meeting in February, we will see a draft, not expect to be complete, but a draft, big picture kind of draft about 5-year plan. On it, and then it says March 1. So the same kind of draft plan, it's just, we're not going to take any action, right, in March. We're just going to also look at it as a full commission. And then we're going to have the budget workshop a month later. So we will have a month in there to mull things over and on big picture kind of way. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that on March 1, we weren't going to take any action at the,
No, I don't
Commission meeting.
expect an action. on
yeah.
that.
Okay, great. That's my question. Thank you.
Good. Any other questions on the calendar that Myrna's laid out for us? Okay, then the last item has to do with our February and June meetings. Barbara, you were looking far ahead and you recognized appropriately that our June meeting is scheduled for June 10th, which is a holiday. And the February meeting next month is scheduled for February 20th, which is President's Day.
Can I interrupt, Andy?
Yes, sure,
One
ma'am.
thing that it's latest information is that and it is important for your future scheduling, is that in-person meetings will begin on March 1. So this topic will be on the commission agenda for February 1, and our legal counsel will be present. But keep that in mind when we're talking about scheduling these meetings.
Okay, I appreciate, that was another question I had, Mary, and I appreciate that. So that will apply not just to the full commission, but also to the finance committee,
Yes.
right, effective March 1. Okay, so here's my question to you as a group. In the past, the normal procedure has been, if there's a holiday on a Monday, we just roll the finance committee meeting back to the next week. I'm concerned about doing that, though, and next month is a good example because the meeting was regularly scheduled for the 20th. If we move it back a week to the 27th, the full commission is meeting just 2 days later, which means that there won't be any time for the minutes of our meeting to make it to the commission meeting. Before I say anything else, Lisa, I see you have a hand up. Did you want to?
Yes.
At this point?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I was looking at my calendar and while that is correct, if the meetings move to February 27, I won't be able to get the minutes into that next commission packet. However, if we schedule it for February 21 or 22, that's the week that I'm getting the agenda packet ready to be published. So that week is a little chaotic for a lot of us. So if people are okay with the minutes not being included in the March 1 meeting, but it would be included in the April meeting, I think February 27 would be better.
Okay, so what I'm also hearing is even if we did it on the 21st or 22nd, it would be difficult to get the minutes into the full commission meeting. So why not just defer it a week and not try to do too many things at once? Is that your request?
Yes, that's my request, but again, I'm
That's okay.
open to what the committee decides. I just wanted to put that out there.
No, I appreciate it. So given that, does anybody object to just moving the date back 1 week to February 27th for the next finance committee meeting? Okay, I see no objections there. Let's take a look at the month of June. Now, Barbara, I know you had a concern because you've got some personal scheduling concerns. Again, if we followed here it's a little bit different issue. The commission meeting is on no, it's going to be the same thing. If we move it to the 20, it's scheduled for the 19th, which is Juneteenth. If we move it back a week to the 26th, it may or may not make it into the full commission meeting. Would the 26th work with your schedule, Barbara, or do you have a conflict that week?
No, I was just trying to tell people when we're available. Some, family members wanted to get together and I didn't know what I could tell them for June. So
Is Myrna, I see you have a hand up. Do you have a?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I remember last year, a lot of folks were traveling that month. And the finance committee did not meet. At that point, you're far into the year, exactly how financially we're doing. And, I just wanted to put that out there that the committee did not meet in June last year and it worked out okay.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. I'd like to hold that possibility in abeyance for the moment. If it's all right with everybody, why don't we tentatively say that the June 19 meeting will be moved to June 20? You're shaking your head, Deborah, no?
The American Library Association meets that weekend. And so if any of our staff, if any senior staff are going to Chicago, and I'm going, so I'll be in Chicago, which is not to say that we all can't call in, but usually that's one of the days that people are flying home. So I think that's right.
Lisa?
I think Deborah's still checking the calendar. Are you, Deborah?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay,
Lisa.
I didn't want to talk over you.
No, go ahead.
Also, two things. Number one, we'll be dealing with in-person meetings. So if we don't have a quorum, then that's something we need to consider. And I did schedule some vacation time myself. I haven't put in a formal request yet for the 26th and the 27th, but I can probably find coverage. I can see if Jaylene can cover for me.
Well, given that, and again, so Barbara, I'm going to come back to you. Have you scheduled your personal time off? You have not yet.
no, I was waiting for this.
All right. So let's that, and I'm sorry to hold you up. Why don't we try this possibility? Let's tentatively schedule the finance committee for either Tuesday or Wednesday, the 20th or 21st of June. And as we get closer, if we have no business that we need to conduct, or if we're going to have too many absences due to personal vacation, we can just remember what Myrna's already told us and pass on that month.
And yes, the ALA is scheduled from the 22nd to the 27th.
Oh, so why don't we schedule it on the 20th then, Dave? Would that work for you?
I had my thumb up.
Yes.
Yes, this all works for me. We're not traveling.
Okay, so let's, Lisa, is that, would that work if we tentatively move it to June 20 with the understanding that we'll review again as we get closer and we may just decide to cancel?
Yes.
Okay, any objections from anybody, or anybody see a flaw in that plan? Okay, good. Well, thank you. Our final agenda item is, do we have any requests for items to be added to future meetings? I have a feeling we're going to have a lot to do, but that doesn't mean we can't take out a little bit more. I'm hearing nothing, but we'll continue to check going forward. All right, well, thank you. Committee, Barbara?
Yeah, just quickly, we don't have a place yet for our commission meetings, I gather. We're still talking about, have we talked about where we will have our committee meetings? Would it be in the same place, do you think? Does anybody know anymore?
Well, I'm just going to say, I feel like it's less of a, because we're a relatively small group. Personally, I'm less concerned about meeting room layout and so on than I would be for a full commission meeting, but I have not heard anything about where we'll be meeting. Myrna or Erica or Lisa, do you, anybody want to weigh in on this, or we don't know yet?
We can meet wherever is most convenient, if that's Roanoke Park, you know, or in our headquarters, if that's Central Library. You know, it really is up to you folks. We can meet you.
You know, well, I'd like to consider, unless this becomes like really painful, I'd like to, we're a public meeting and people can attend. What about kind of rotating the meeting to different branches that have meeting rooms, and just any members of the public who wanted to join us would be welcome. Dave, I see you have a hand up.
Yeah, I would prefer Central because the population center of gravity, as it were, is here in Santa Rosa. And that's where most of our commenters are going to come from. Typically, I mean, if you have, it's not, the center of gravity is not displaced that much if you're in Roanoke Park. But still, I would prefer Central. I don't want to think about having to go to far-flung places that I don't even know where they are. If we try to hit all branches, I'll manage, I'm sure.
All right, well, we'll take this up offline and see if we can come up, you know, maybe we'll start with Central and see how it goes. But I personally like the idea of getting out to some of the other branches, if nothing else, if for no other reason than to get a chance to see them and to have the local patrons see us in action.
As long as we give the branches sufficient notice and there are no scheduling conflicts with the meeting room.
Yeah.
Obviously, some of the branches like Northwest do not have a meeting room, so that would preclude us from being able to meet there.
Sure.
But yes.
Okay, well, I'll take this up offline with Myrna and Erica, and we'll come up with a plan, recognizing that you don't want to go to far-flung locations, Dave.
Yeah, well.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you all for a terrific meeting, and particularly Myrna and Julie and your team. Thanks for doing a great job. We are adjourned at 4:12.
Great. Thank
Right.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
everybody. Thanks,
Thank
Andy.
you.
Have a good
I
night.
know.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.